Alright guys, let's be honest, if you're finding this through search or recommendations, and other videos didn't help, like you've probably watched a bunch of law of attraction videos, just in case this is the case, that are, yes, they're true, but honestly a little corny. I've seen them, like I look at all the related videos before I even plan on my own, so I know what they look like. It's a bunch of fucking pictures of people kissing in mountains, and people surfing at the open ocean with piano music in the background, and quotes. It's all just very cheesy in my opinion. At least, again, I very much agree with them. But dude, like, let's cut to the chase here. Where's the real substance? Where's the shit that people are like, whoa, okay, that's a good point. Beyond just, if it's meant to be, then it'll be. If it changes, then it changes. People need things like that, I'm sure, yes, kind of. But those quotes are incredibly vague for whatever reason. They don't look at the potential situation, the context the person might be going through. Sorry, I have a lot of shit to say about shit like this. And I'm sure that's a terrible first impression for anyone who's seeing me on YouTube for the first time. But if you want to pass judgment on that and watch the rest of this video, I very much appreciate that. Thank you so much. And if you're finding this through search, then, well, hi, I'm Samuel. I'm a self-produced rapper and singer, as well as podcaster. I'm here to recalibrate the direction of modern culture, and I am going to accomplish this if it takes the remainder of my life. So if you're still with me, then let's fucking do it. Samuel. Now the reason I said situational, context if you're willing to hear me out, is like, dude, there's gotta be one or two things on this list that apply to you more than the others. These are just like 10 things to remember. Maybe one of them is the one you really need to consider. One or more, I know they're different from each other. It's similar ideas and stuff, but I try not to make this spacey shit that gives the law of attraction as an ideology a weird hippie sort of stigma around it. So I made this with the belief that there is at least one of these that you hear and you're like, fuck bro, that's it. And you take that one item on the list and it flips over and over in your head until eventually it gains enough momentum to propel you in the direction that's best for you. So here it is. Number one, the universe is trying to see what you're made of. I feel like a lot of the time, this is the case. Like a lot of the time, it's fucking extremely difficult to keep so many balls in the air at once, and eventually you just start dropping them all. I talked to my doctor about this once. We agreed that the most difficult thing about self-development is obtaining a healthy balance across all areas of it, from your physical health, to your social life, to your love life, to your level of financial comfort. Because it's not just balancing those, it's also the fact that they will tend to go in different directions from each other over time. And if you're watching this, maybe that happened. Like you get diagnosed with some kind of illness, or one of your friends dies of, God forbid, a heroin overdose or something. These things fucking suck. I mean, believe me, you can't name one person who's excited to wake up every day because they suffer from some affliction, or they're mourning the death of a loved one. But again, remember, when things like that happen, even if they are not your fault, and they were very much out of your control, the universe might just be trying to see what you can handle. And I bet there were so many points in your life, at least, where some smaller things of this nature happened, but you pushed, and somehow you made it through. What did you learn from those points that you can apply to this point? Because everything small is just everything big in disguise, is it not? Speaking of big, number two, nothing is a big deal. Personally, I'm a compartmentalizer. I kind of divide my feelings, chop them up and shit to organize them, and not let them conflict with each other. When they're conflicting and I'm thinking about them, that's what I'm doing. And sometimes I find this easier to do than others. What causes that, I'm still trying to figure out so I can manipulate it. But a lot of things that seem to bother other people don't really seem to bother me at all, if not that much. Like who the president is, or negative comments, or literally any fake news, or rush hour traffic. I'm sure you could say the same about yourself. I'm sure of it. And list a couple of things. Please feel free to write them in the comments below if you want. Like, pause this video right now and tell me what bothers other people that doesn't really seem to bother you. Those are just some examples for me, because none of them are big problems to me. But I try to look at everything like it's not a big problem, without forgetting its importance in my life. And I don't know about you, but I use those two things to kind of keep me in balance. And it helps a lot in reminding myself that nothing is a big deal and I can handle it. Number three, if it gets better, it'll get worse. If it gets worse, it'll get better. I once heard the Dalai Lama say that impermanence exists because of universal codependence, or some bullshit like that. Like nothing ever stays the same. Why would it? Like the reason it wouldn't is that everything depends on something, but nothing depends on everything. Other than, of course, the fact that everything depends on something. If nothing I just said makes any sense to you, that's no big deal, because, you know, nothing is a big deal. But basically, nothing is permanent. And I feel like this is important because if your life sucks right now, it's not gonna stay that way. It's inevitably gonna get better. If it doesn't, it'll get worse. But honestly, your experience in life, I'm sure, can prove that some things will have to get worse before before they get better. And that if you are still here, whatever the fuck you're going through, if you look at all the other shit you went through, like how can you not persevere when you look at everything else that you did in the past and what you learned from it? So some things will have to get worse before they get better. And I feel like that goes both ways too. If something is amazing, it's gonna get worse or better at some time in the near future. And fucking, if you don't believe me, for large scale proof of this, I encourage you to catch a glimpse of the history of the stock market. Number 4, if you know what you want or what you're looking for, even if it's more than one thing, you may not be as stuck as you think. Sometimes you just need to look at other people or maybe talk to them about life or whatever, just to get a little bit of perspective on where you're at without judgment. I would honestly just not recommend, but you do you. And sometimes I feel like you need to just look at that and realize, dude, a lot of people just don't really fucking know at all what they want. So if you do, like, at least you know what the destination kind of looks like. If you know the destination, you know that you're on a journey, and that's better than having no destination. That's better than not knowing what you want. And if you don't know what you want right now, anyone who regularly watches videos like this is probably way more likely to find what they want when they're ready to. Like, that shit will probably come to you, and you'll figure it out. You figure everything out. Honestly, I feel like 117.3% of the time during these videos, I'm really just talking to myself, but I love myself, so I'm trying to project that reality in hopes that maybe it will shed some light of personal reflection and positivity onto whoever watches. Like, I'm just trying to offer some kind of value. Number 5, maybe it's time to evaluate yourself. Like, sometimes you just gotta see the power of your own attitude. Like, your life at all times is crying out for you to save it from itself. I know, that sounds kind of trippy. But anytime you have successfully done that and kept it safe, you took a risk of, fucking taking action with a positive mental attitude, perhaps. When's the last time you approached something with a negative mental attitude and it worked out? Like, everything turned out fucking bueno in the end. I feel like your attitude projects onto your results. Like, do you ever ask yourself how positive you are feeling at any given moment? Do you ever ask yourself how predictable your mood is? Do you ever ask yourself why exactly you're making some particular decision right before or even after you make it? Do you ever ask yourself why you watch these videos? Like, why are you watching this video? Why are you going to watch the next video that you watch after this? Or more importantly, why do you feel stuck? Like, what happened that you reacted to, like, I don't know what to do with this shit? Self-reflection is very valuable because when you use it, you get to look at a lot of cracks in the armor that you wouldn't see without the mirror, without the self-evaluation. And you can take your armor to the armor shop and get it armor fixed so you can put it on and go back to the war for world peace or something. I don't know where I was going with that. But wherever it is, it's probably somewhere beautiful because you and I believe in the power of attitude. Number 6, there's never not a time to take action. I know this is going to sound very Cardonian, but honestly, sometimes your body
is just gonna be screaming.
Your mind is gonna be in restless pain.
Your heart is gonna be crying, and your soul is going to be fucking bleeding.
But literally, the only thing you can really do as a result is take more action. Like, what else are you gonna do? Just sit there with your dick in your hand, singing the Call Me Maybe chorus to the heavens? If you look at your watch at all times, no matter what time it is, every time will always be the same exact time. The time is now. Now is the only time that time itself will ever tolerate. In your life, you are playing a game of chess, and your opponent is time. Time does not tolerate indecision. If you take too long, by not taking action, time will eventually wipe all the pieces off of the board and you will lose, aka fucking die. If you take too much time to do anything, you won't do anything. Simple as that. Like, there will never be a right time to do anything. So that's the fucking thing that you didn't do. If you're doing something, at least you're doing. In general, you can't look at yourself in the end, in such a case, when all you did was do and time never lost its own patience. You can't look at yourself in the end and say, damn, I wasn't really doing anything that whole time. Number 7, it happens to the best of us. Yes, in fact, feeling stuck from time to time does happen
To the boats, as they say.
if you think, especially for them, that everything was, is, and will be perfect all the fucking time. Everything just fucking sunshine and rainbows and gummy bears and horseshoes. I don't fucking know what to tell you. But there is no straight path to success for sure in every endeavor, let alone any. I have found it beneficial to approach all things with the mentality that there is and that I have the ability at all times to demolish whatever is in my way at any cost, because like I said, time does not tolerate indecision. Every second counts. Did you know that there are 31,536,000 seconds in a year? That's a lot of seconds. That's a lot of time. But at the same time, speaking of which, that's fucking closer to the bitch number than infinity. Like, at the same time, time itself is very scarce. All those seconds. Why would you waste a single one of them? I'm very young. I'm 21. I know this shit. But I don't want to look at myself at 4 times this age and say that my life was perfect. I want to say, dude,
I made so many mistakes, and I reflected on them, and I took those lessons and invested them into the next day, and did the same thing for every week, month, year, and decade, and I did not fuck around. I minimized every single possible regret I could.
Because we are here to build, not to destroy. We are here to grow, not to shrink. Life is about life, not fucking death. If you think life is about death, you should probably, I don't want to say you should die. I feel like that's kind of fucked up. But life is not about death. Why would it be about death? If you think that your own existence should at all costs not be about living the fullest life you can, what's the fucking point? Like, it's gotta be that. Like, that's gotta be the case. Life is either a daring adventure or but a mere bitch number. Number 8, the internal world is more important than the external world. What matters more to you? Your material possessions or your ability to control your own thoughts? Because doesn't one of those kind of fucking produce the other? Like, this is like apples versus the tree in such an instance. But the apples are the material possessions, and the tree is your ability to control your own thoughts, right? Do you like your apples? Do you have enough of them? Do you want more? How do you plan on getting them? I feel like that would require using their seeds to plant more trees. But how much attention do you pay to your trees? Do they get along with one another? The quality of the trees affects the quality of the apples, does it not? So too does this apply with quantity, I'm sure. Now, speaking of which, I'm not a fucking apple scientist, but if this is true, in any case, I would not be surprised. You can't have the apples without the trees. You can't have your material possessions without your ability to control your own thoughts. You can't create your ideal scene without your understanding of the situation out of which you plan to do so. You can't get a grasp of the external world without getting a grasp first of the internal world. Yes, these things do play off one another, but one of them is just a tad more dependent on the other for the sake of its own survival. Again, dude, like, I'm just a kid. When I look at my Audible library alone, just the titles, I read the names and I'm like, dude, I don't know anything about Albert Einstein. I don't know anything about dark money. I don't know anything about anti-fragility or superfoods or diabetes and the qualities of the average childhood in fucking Africa. Like, I'm really dumb. I still have a lot to learn. I'm still a kindergartner in terms of my knowledge and self-education, but it's your life, not mine. I just hope for you to get the most out of it. Number 9, you are not the definition of your current circumstance. You are not defined by the money you have at the moment. Like, if you were, how would that even work? Because you can't fucking quantify qualities. And there are probably so many rich people who are like snobby, fucking ungrateful dickheads anyway. So again, it's like your internal world is more important than the external world. Because one is what creates and or magnifies the beauty of the other. What you imagine and you think about all the time to the point where it consumes you as an obsession and you pretty much embody its becoming. Then everyone doubting you will be amazed to find out that they did not at the time realize the fucking power of thought. They will know that one seed had its own tree deep within. It's an asset that inherently came upon existence to be promoted to the fullest. Number 10, life doesn't happen to you. Now, I've heard instead that it happens for you, but I've also heard that instead it happens because of you. And I think that's interesting. I actually agree with both. But let's go over those two perspectives. It happens for you. That's right. A lot of things specifically happen for you to grow as a person. Why would they happen to you? Like, even if they're bad things, what are you gonna get out of that? Shit, bro, any mistake, any downfall, any L, none of that shit is as bad as people think. Like, oh my gosh, I got $1,000 for my birthday. I wasted all that money
On fake SoundCloud plays.
and I have to delete the songs and re-upload them because it doesn't look good and I have to get all the real page back. And dude, that's not a waste of time or money. That's an investment of time and money, rather, into your own self-education. What kind of fucking waste is that? If you want to call it an L, that's not a loss. That's a lesson. If you want to call it a W, it's not a waste. It's a fat ass fucking thick ass win. It's a gain. But life also happens because of you. If I ever get hit by a drunk driver, it'll be my fault, okay? And people hear this and they're like, that's insane. Dude, if they're drunk, it's clearly their fault for getting in the car. When people talk about court cases, this alone is 20% of the reason I try not to even fucking involve myself in the conversation. The other 80% is I have nothing but more important things to do with my time. Talking like who's guilty and who's not, everyone is responsible for everything to some extent. Letting a sunken cost fallacy get to you like, I already spent $20,000 on this case. I had to pay for a lawyer and all the fees and shit. I gotta spend all the other money because maybe I'll get a return on investment. People stress so much about the money and the time and knowing that they're right, but they can't just take responsibility, say, this is my fucking problem. I did it 100% and fucking move on with their lives. If it's in despair, then move on in despair. Simple as that. It's so hard to say it happened because of you, no matter what the circumstances. If that looks good on paper, it'll look better in real life. And it'll definitely serve as inspiration to other people. You ever see people people who have like no arms or legs, and you see videos about how happy they are with their lives, I think that is enough proof of things like this. So life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you and because of you. Take control of your life and realize that any negative results are a means of progress. Everything is a means of progress. And anyone who wants to come at me over shit about court cases, I want you to recognize that 1, there's an exception, or even many, to any given rule. Thus, 2, this is also a very extremist viewpoint that I don't always endorse entirely in every situation, all the time, everywhere, ever. So those are my 10 things to remember when you feel stuck. What do you guys do or say or think that really helps when you're feeling stuck? I'd love to know what helps you guys so I can get some more of your insights as well. I'd love for you guys to get insights from each other. If you have anything you want me to talk about in future videos, please let me know in the comments below. I'll give you a shout out if and when I use them. If you have any questions, please feel free to hit me up. There are links at the bottom of the description to all my social media. Also at the bottom of the description, there are links to my new production kits where you can find all the software and hardware that I use to make music and these videos. If you buy any, I get commission, which helps me build this channel and keep making the videos for you guys. I made all the beats in this video. If you want to use them, you can find links to each one in the description from first to last or at samuel.earth/beats. Make sure to leave a like if you like it, subscribe if you haven't already. If you could turn on that little bell to receive a notification every time I drop a new video, that would mean the world to me. Excuse me. Thank you guys so much for watching. You can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.